Good afternoon, friends. I'm very happy to be here, and I'll tell you that I am really surprised, really very, very surprised that this organization exists. And I must say that Dr. Bhatia, I'm amazed, sir, that how you've been able to organize it, and you've got people who really are doing something in society. And for that, I really, really am amazed. When I was running Lintas, which was one of the largest advertising agencies in the country, I was surprised one day when someone came to visit and from London, and he went round to all the departments that we had, and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Alyque, I'm amazed that the heads," I'm talking about 1985, by the way, it's a long time ago, "I'm surprised that all the heads of your departments are women. We don't have that in London. Why is Lintas India different?" And that set me to thinking, how come I had no such policy? And you know, feminism and everything else was in the early days. And then I made an inquiry, and I realized that one of the things that we had on our assessment sheets, which were done by the person who was in charge of the department, was something that other agencies later on incorporated, and that was nurturing. We had something called nurturing, which meant mentoring in another way, putting it in another way. And then I realized that the heads of all my key departments, I'm talking about creative, I'm talking about media, I'm talking about client service, I'm talking about everything, were all women, because they had risen to the top, principally because they were able to bring the people together and give them a common goal and give them a kind of a camaraderie that was absent in most professional organizations. Professional means that you do your job and you do it extremely well. Talked about perfection. Try and achieve perfection. But on the way, you lose a lot of your humanity. And so I decided that the company that I was running, Lintas, should be much more of a family and much less of a professional, in the bad sense of the word, organization. And for this, obviously, women became the leaders. And I'd like to say that a lot of women who spoke today seem to, feminism tends to, I'm not saying it's completely that, but tends to think of men as the enemy. And how can we be better than men? Why do you want to be better than men? We're not very good anyway. We're good at our work. Yeah. So what the hell? And I have 2 daughters and 1 son. And I can tell you that, yes, I have 1 son, but I'm very proud that I have 2 daughters, principally because they seem to be, they seem to have a nurturing nature. And as you get older, you know, even men, even granddads, tend to want a little bit of nurturing besides the babies. So we need a little babying. And this brought me to the whole point that, is ours a society that is nurturing enough? And I'm a great admirer of the fact that women, by God's gift, or you say nature's gift, were born to nurture the babies. The man spends sometimes a minute and sometimes 5 seconds to do his part for bringing a child into the world, right or wrong? Yeah? 5 seconds. The woman carries the baby for 9 months, feeds the baby, looks after the baby. Whether she's working, a career woman or not, that is the role that nature has given her. And therefore, I think the genes, the DNA in all women, whether they're married or not married, whether they're young or old, there is this spirit of nurturing. And I was just speaking to 10,000 students in Pune last week. And the basic thing I said is the Prime Minister said, let's have more startups in India. And each one of the startups he was talking about, and so are all the business folk, were technological startups. So I said on that occasion, and I'll say it on this occasion, what we need is more startups about value systems, more startups about nurturing, more startups. And that brings me to women. And it's all of you. If someone said it some years ago, and it's become a cliche, but I'll repeat it, that if women were the heads of governments all over the world, we would never have wars. We'd never have wars. Because there is an intrinsic a spirit of nurturing. As I say, it's been given by nature. It's got nothing to do with you're born a man, a male or a female, but all females have this nurturing spirit. And I thought that is the one thing that I see on the horizon as hope. Hope for the whole world. Because today, you can't turn on the TV, you can't even turn on social media without somebody, insulting or biting or making cruel remarks about someone else. Countries doing it too, and in Syria and now in poor old Iraq, who's had the second war now within a few years. Everyone is wanting to kill rather than to nurture. And I think this is the time for a revolution. We need, believe you me, maybe, and I suppose some of the traditionalists will shoot me dead, when I say we need today in the world Gandhi, but this time a female Gandhi. Because there is someone who would be born with a nurturing spirit. Nurturing has disappeared from the world, and I think that's the reason we're in such a mess. I'd just like to say that Raksha Bandhan, when I was in Pune, this idea struck me, and there was mixed gender in these 10,000 students. Struck me that the only way we can get back together, at least starting with India, is, and then I said, why don't we declare, I asked the students, I said, you are young India. Are you slaves of the past, or are you catalysts of the future? And if you are, I have a humble suggestion. Raksha Bandhan Day should be called Unity Day, and every one of you students, and I meant also all your families and everyone you know, and if it was shown on TV, I hope everyone heard it. At Raksha Bandhan Day, we should buy at least 50 or 100 Rakis and tie it on the people whom we deal with, whether it is your maid servant, whether it is your doodwala who brings dood every day. Make them brothers, make them sisters. What we need is more putting ourselves out to help other people and stop treating everyone as enemies. And this has become, this I'm afraid has come out of professional business culture. You never talk about people as, the other company. You always say, the competitor. So we're all in a mad race. I don't know where we're going, but we're in a mad race to get somewhere. And I think this business, it's time for reflection. So don't treat men as competitors. Just say, whatever I've got, I will do the best of my ability, bearing in mind I will not use unfair means to get ahead. And I think this is very, very important, that unless we do that, we are going to remain where we are today or get worse. The world is really turning in a very miserable way. I'd just like to say that about 3 weeks ago, I saw in the Mumbai Mirror a picture of a little baby, and it was being held in the arms of what seemed to be a nurse. And then I read the horrible caption that said, this girl child of 10 days old was not abandoned by its parents, but was put under the tire of a truck by its parents, because they already had one girl child, and the second girl child to them was something that they did not want, and they did not want to murder the child themselves, so they put the child, 10 days old, under the truck tire, the back truck tire of a truck, so that when the truck driver in the morning started the engine and moved forward, the baby would die. And the baby, and luckily a sweeper in the morning cleaning the streets saw the baby, took it to the police station. from some miraculous thing, the police station took it to a nearby orphanage. And I saw that, tears came into my eyes, and I went to the orphanage and I looked at the baby, and there she was. This was about 2 weeks later. So she was by that time 10 days, she was about almost a month old. And she looked so healthy. And I looked at this orphanage and I thought I'd go to a sort of the Indian version of Charles Dickens's orphanages. If you've read Oliver Twist or anything, you know what they were like. And I found this beautiful, tiny, but very clean, and these little babies in little cribs, all, so washed and clean, and most of them smiling. And I said to myself, are these children ever going to get a chance? And particularly the girl children. And this was a girl child, and they had named her Disha. And so I said to the owners of the orphanage, I said, where do you find it? They said the police bring them in, or sometimes NGOs, abandoned babies, always girl children, abandoned on the streets of Bombay, the richest city in India, are left to die. And I said, what happens? He says, yes, well, we nurture them, and eventually we have a list of people who are childless, and they come to adopt the babies. So I said, look, I can't do that. I can't adopt this child, Disha, but I will adopt her. I will, if you like, create a new term called in-orphanage adoption. You keep the baby, I will fund whatever it takes, whether the baby grows up, has to be taught, has to go to school, whatever the school fees are, whatever the food is, whatever the milk is, etc. And I'd like to support this girl child till she finds childless parents who will adopt her, and even then I would like to keep in touch. Is that possible? So they got into a huddle and said, never heard of this, in-orphanage adoption? And they said, yes, it's possible. So I wrote out a check for the next 6 months, and I said, every time you're short of money, but I will, in any case, every month I'll be sending you a check for Disha. And I've got a picture at home. My daughter said, my youngest daughter said, Dad, whose picture is that? You're holding a baby in your arms. Don't tell me you are. I said, no. And I said, that's my adopted child. And then the thought struck me while I was sitting here, and I just scribbled it here, in fact. I would say to all of you, and your husbands, and your whoever's, all your friends, why don't we start a movement of adopt an in-orphanage child? Go to orphanages, find out if the orphanage has enough. I brought chocolates and milk and all for everyone, but besides that, and say, I'm going to, like you had earlier, I remember in the 60s, we had adopt a tree. And you would look after that tree as, and see every day that you looked after it, you got enough sunlight, got enough water, etc. And I'm saying, there's so many children in this wonderful country of ours that, need that care and nurture. And so I'm saying to this group of people, and I'm going to talk to Dr. Bhatia after this, why not start a movement and adopt an in-orphanage child, a girl child. A girl child, because yes, there is discrimination against the whole gender. Maybe when you grow up you can fight it, but when you're a baby and you're treated like this, I said something has to be done. So anyway, whether you do it or not, I'm going to start in my small way to try and start a movement to adopt an in-orphanage baby girl. And this is important. And I've been to so many conferences, at my age I've been to must be over 1,000, 2,000 conferences, and everyone says we must change this, we must change that, etc., etc., etc. And I always go up to the convener, I said, wonderful, some wonderful ideas, who's going to implement them? And there's always a dead silence. You know? But we, and I'm talking about we, I mean all of us Indians, but particularly young India, maybe your children, the people who have children in this audience, maybe young India can take some of these ideas forward and actually work on them with a POA, a plan of action. And all of you, if you're career women, know what a POA is. It's the key thing that drives any company, any organization. I'm sure Dr. Bhatia had a very excellent POA, which I'd like to have a look at, how you managed to organize this whole thing. It's really one. And all of us can be organizers with small things. I'm not saying huge things, build the Bhakra Nangal Dam number 2. That will take about a century. And so what I think all of us should be thinking of, yes, I can do something for myself, and if I can squeeze in 2 hours a week to do something for other people who are less fortunate, let me start as a rather late New Year resolution for 2016 to do something for other people outside of my own family and friends. So I thought that would be something that could be very positive. The thing I was going to actually talk about, I've left to the last, and that is rape. I asked someone the other day, a friend of mine, a lady, and I said, why is it that men are not raped? Why are only women raped? Is there some sort of phobia about raping men, or is there any big law that you can't rape a man? And she said, don't be silly, Alyque. You know very well, it's because men are stronger than women. So I said, yes, that's exactly what I thought. I'm glad you've corroborated it. Is there anyone here who has a different opinion as to why women are raped? Any ladies here who think, nobody can rape me? One of the reasons is that men are physically, and when you're born, stronger, and in school it shows, particularly in co-educational schools. And I've been talking to some of the principals of those schools. And I was just thinking that we have a lot of things on the agenda, on the curriculum for our schools. There used to be, in my day, and that's a long time ago, there used to be PT, physical training, yes, PT. And I think there are variations of it now, not only educate the mind but train the body. I wonder whether we couldn't bring in an educational farman saying all girl children should be taught self-defense. And I'll tell you what that does. Besides actually defending yourself against a man, it also gives you a sense. And I spoke to some women that I knew who were doing, what is it called, mixed martial arts, MMA, mixed martial arts. And I said, what does it do for you besides the fact that you can tackle a man if he tries to attack you? She said, I walk now on the streets with great pride, just like a man. And I know if anyone tries to be funny with me, I can flatten him within 15 seconds. It gives me a sense that I am someone not inferior, but equal to or even better than a man who might attack me. And I'm just wondering that I am in the business of spreading ideas that are workable, not ideas like bhai or behno, as I heard 100 times in Pune, because there were about 20 politicians who wanted to grab the stage. Is desh mein hum sab saath milke, and go on, without a single practical suggestion of how we're going to come together, considering we're very much apart today, very much. So I'm just saying, can we have you ladies who have all spoken so well and so practically of your experiences in being in the professional world, which is dominated by men, get together, and why can't we have more such ideas coming in? And now with the net and Facebook and Twitter and all these wonderful things, exchange ideas. And I really think about 75 years ago, a simple man said a very powerful thing. He said, there is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And I think the time has come for women to start changing everyone's views, other women's views and male views, of course, to say that why can't we get together instead of all the time pushing ourselves apart, always being competitive. And if that can be done, I think we will have a real revolution in India, which Gandhiji started, non-violence and brotherhood. Or now I should say brother-sisterhood, or whatever new term, or personhood, which sounds pretty dull. To get together, that people should get together much more, and much less of this divisive thing that I find even among males and females. And I know I've sat in on some bull sessions, as they call them, with men, and they talk very disparagingly about women, very disparagingly. It's really saddening and shocking, but I think the world can change, and I think what I'm really saying in one line is that if anyone is going to change the world and make it a friendlier, more nurturing place, it's going to be you women. Thank you.